Gill.
Thank you, Chairwoman Green, and I apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so I'm losing my voice here. Ms. Maher, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half-decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems to be what you're suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being illegal.
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Do you think that a few years ago NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts? Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of perspectives.
I'll take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote, fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat. Would you like to explain how fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat? That's an editorial at NPR.
I am not familiar with the editorial, and I don't believe that was published during my time here.
It's called Diet Culture is Everywhere. Here's how to fight it. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I think any reporting on health is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars, yes.
And you think that editorializing that fat is not unhealthy is appropriate?
I don't know what that article is, sir, and I'm not familiar with it, so I couldn't say.
This is fake news. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
It's also from NPR. Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, when civility is used as a cudgel against people of color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, so I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization, and I'll read it. For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubricant as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. I now recognize.
During a heated congressional hearing, Representative Gill pressed NPR executive Ms. Maher over her past public statements and the editorial direction of taxpayer-funded media. Opening his questioning, Gill asked Maher whether she agreed with the famous Marxist claim that the history of all existing society is the history of class struggles. Maher said she did not agree, prompting Gill to note that many of her past statements appeared influenced by economic and cultural Marxism. Gill then turned to a series of Maher's previous tweets. He asked whether she believed America is addicted to white supremacy. Maher acknowledged she had tweeted the phrase but said her views had evolved and that she could not recall the original context. Gill followed up by asking whether Maher believed in black plunder and white democracy. Maher denied holding that belief, despite Gill pointing to tweets referencing the case for reparations. Maher said she did not remember reading the book, even though she had tweeted about taking a day off to read it in January 2020. The questioning continued with race-related remarks. Gill asked whether Maher believed white people inherently feel superior to other races. She said no, despite acknowledging a past tweet in which she wrote, "I grew up feeling superior. How white of me." Maher said she was reflecting on her own upbringing and advantages, not making a general claim about white people. Gill then confronted Maher over tweets supporting reparations. He read a January 2020 post in which she wrote, "Yes, reparations." Maher argued the tweet was not about financial reparations but a broader moral acknowledgement of historical debt. Gill challenged that explanation and asked how much she had personally paid in reparations. Maher responded that she had never paid any. The exchange turned to the issue of looting during protests. Gill asked whether looting is morally wrong. Maher said it is illegal, morally wrong, and should be prosecuted, but she had previously described it as counterproductive. Gill pointed out that she had tweeted sympathy toward protests that did not prioritize private property, which he argued minimized criminal behavior. Gill also questioned NPR's promotion of controversial content, including a book titled In Defense of Looting. Maher said she was unfamiliar with it and claimed it was not during her tenure. Gill then cited NPR stories on topics such as genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts, asking whether that was an appropriate use of taxpayer funds. Maher said public broadcasting should cover a wide range of topics. The questioning continued into health and social issues. Gill cited an NPR editorial claiming fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat, and asked whether that was appropriate for publicly funded media. Maher said she was unfamiliar with the article but generally defended health-related reporting. Gill also referenced NPR pieces discussing latent fat phobia in everyday infrastructure like seatbelts and doorways. Maher said she had no opinion. He then asked whether civility itself is racist. Maher said no, but Gill read directly from an NPR article arguing that civility can be used to suppress people of color. Visibly frustrated, Gill accused NPR of editorializing under the guise of news and called the content garbage. He concluded by vowing to do everything in his power to ensure NPR never receives another dollar of taxpayer funding. The chair then reclaimed the time and moved the hearing forward.